Good morning. What's up, guys? How we doing? Happy Monday. Hope you're all having a good morning here so far. Wow, let's get into it here. Market's going to be opening up here in about 5.5 minutes. Let's take a look at everything we need to take a look at. First of all, as far as news goes here today, this is what we're looking at. So, at 8:45, 15 minutes after the market opens, we'll have the U.S. S&P manufacturing PMI final read, okay? At 9, we get the U.S. ISM manufacturing PMI. We have a Fed speaker at 9:15. 11:45, another Fed speaker, and Powell is speaking at noon. Again, this is all Central Time. So, as far as on stream here, we'll basically just have the manufacturing PMI final, both for the S&P and the ISM. And then we'll have Logan speaking from the Fed. I don't expect too much movement out of any of those things. The biggest volatility event here today is clearly going to be Powell speaking at noon. So that's pretty much all we have going on there as far as news is concerned. What's up, guys? Good morning. How we doing? Hope you guys are having a good morning here so far. Trading Chris, welcome back. Nia, John, good morning, guys. How we doing? Brandon, good morning. Jet, what's up, brother? Hey, Jose, sounds like you need to pay closer attention, man. We got it up all the time. Gaines, good morning, brother. How you doing? Yes, sir. Morning. Finally used code BIG. First prop account. Let's see if I pass the eval. Just take it easy. If you don't, no big deal. Christopher, Scooby-Doo, welcome back. Andy, good morning. Michael, Willie, how we doing? All right, guys. We got 4 minutes until the bell rings. We'll let some institutional orders clear out. Then we're good to go. Steven, good morning. Dips and Peaks. What's up, brother? Recognizing everybody here now. All right, I'm excited for today. Should be a good week. It's always good to be back, huh? Okay, so new week, we have a whole bunch of new deals going on, so let's just get this out of the way so you guys know what's up if you need some accounts. Take Profit Trader, as always, is 30% off, no activation fee with code BIG. Apex is really different this week, okay? Last week, it was 90% off, but the lifetime activation fees were higher. So this week, same code BIG. It's 71% off the evals, but I would argue it's a similar, if not better deal because lifetime activation fees, last week it was anywhere from, I think, 130 to 170, depending on what account you bought. This week, with 71% off the eval, when you pass, the lifetime activation fee is $100 across the board. Does not matter what account you get. So, again, last week, the 250K was kind of like the special. This week, I'd say whatever account you want to get, man. I mean, if you want to go higher and get a 300K or whatever, $100. To activate it once you pass. Normally it's like 170. So that's what's going on over at Apex. I know it can be a little bit confusing, but that's relatively simple here this week. Keith, good morning. C-Mac, what's up, brother? How you doing? All right, we are 2 minutes out. Again, as you guys come on in here, those of you just joining us, again, as far as news today, the biggest event is going to be Powell speaking at noon. But between now and then, 8:45, we get a number. 9, we get a number. Relatively small numbers, just manufacturing PMIs. Then we have 2 Fed speakers before Powell with a gap in between. So as far as, again, on stream, we're watching 8:45, 9, and then 9:15. We're not going to hold off really for any of those. I probably wouldn't take a scalp at 8:44 and 50 seconds heading into the manufacturing PMI release. But if there's like a swing or more of a longer duration scalp, so something that we widen out a little bit more, I'm not going to hold off with around 8:45, around 9, especially around 9:15. Like Fed's Logan speaking, it's really no big deal. That'll be all right. But Powell speaking at noon, we're going to want to pay attention to if you're trading around that time. All right, we are 60 seconds out. Let's see what we get here off the open. 5 minute up top, top left, 2 minute top right. And that right there is the daily on the bottom, okay? Just for context of what we've got coming into the bell here. Mr. Mulatto, good morning. Is your take profit account working? Well, I haven't taken any trades in my take profit pros. But they're connected just fine. I'm not having any issues with take profit. Is anyone else? All right, here we go. About a 25-point pop off the open so far here. Volatility is relatively controlled. Let's see if we can get this opening up a little bit more. And I don't care which direction it goes off the open. That's good. Good. Open up a little bit more. It's relatively well documented. If you really study the open compared to the result of the day, it's basically a 50% shot. Does the opening move hold or does it reverse? So you get this big push off the open. Big beginner mistake is, man, we're going to have a big bull day. Maybe. 50% shot you don't. You just reverse and have a big fade day. So this is all meaningless to me. I'm paying attention to it. It is information. I'm not going to write it off as noise. Which, I mean, you could argue really is anything in the market noise. It's all information. But this here, it doesn't give me a bullish bias. The pre-market movement doesn't give me a bullish bias. We just got to trade the price action as it comes. Aaron, good morning. Lee, welcome back, brother. How we doing? Pat added 2 more Apex evals with code BIG. Hippo said, I had data issues with take profit this morning, but support sorted it. I haven't had any data issues at all. My actual, well, I'm not sure how the connection here works when I have 2 connections. I think the actual chart data is being fed to NinjaTrader through Rhythmic, which are my Apex accounts. That's actually interesting. Is Ninja pulling data from both my take profit and my Rhythmic accounts? Or is it just pulling data from Rhythmic, displaying it to me, and then I'm trading take profit in the background? I'm actually not sure. It doesn't matter. All right, nice little open up here off the open. That's good. Good. Main concern right now, just get volatility going here, because it was a little low last week. Last week was an interesting week. In the morning last week, things were, I was trading okay. The afternoon, I was trading pretty damn well. And then Friday, we took one good trade off the open, and I finished the day, nice 5-figure day on Friday at the end of it. By the way, if you guys aren't in the free Discord, you should join that. You should join that. Just totally free. Just a place to hang out, in addition to here, obviously. Good, nice little push. Anyone who got long coming into the open is smiling here. About a 100-point push. Marshall, welcome back. Diesel Man, good to see you. Quite the push here off the open. So, okay, so that, you guys remember this flat top we were dealing with last week? 21,450 up to 21,550. It's just been a pain in the ass. This flat top, hopefully it doesn't come too much into play today. At some point, we're going to have to get through it. Fading off of it is delaying the inevitable of having to deal with it again at some point. So, I don't know. I don't have any kind of bias here. Just do what it does and let's trade the price action. Hey, Chris K. What's up, brother? Shay, good morning. How you doing? All right, we got 45 seconds left on the opening 5-minute bar. Let's see how this thing closes. You can see on the 2-minute chart, the 2 minutes already starting to hesitate a little bit. Let's see if they keep pushing. How this first 5-minute bar closes is somewhat interesting. Again, a lot of this is institutional orders. All right, roll over here of the 5-minute. Prop firm path. What happened to the 100K a month challenge? Well, I wouldn't say I quit it. I'm still doing it. I mean, on Friday was a $12,880 day. So in a lot of ways, you could argue that we're like pretty much there. You guys have to understand, going live is much better. I mean, I'm sure some of you guys liked the videos, but doing it live is better. That's just the reality of it. So if you missed the videos, I apologize, but that's not really, live's better. So it's the way it is, man. All right, still trying to push here. You see the bulls are starting to struggle a little bit. We'll see if the bears can curl this. And once 840 comes, we'll see if we'll start putting on some trades. At least we'll see if we get some setups. Vinny, good morning, gang. I accidentally triggered a hotkey order. Just now short. Quick $25 lesson. That shift is a horrible setup. Yeah, guys, for hotkeys, I use Alt. So I know this is probably a question a lot of you guys have. Let's just get this out of the way. I mean, realistically, every keyboard's laid out differently, okay? The technical stuff is fun to talk about, so let's talk about it while these institutional orders clear. We have like 3 more minutes. You guys took a typing class in like middle school, right? So you have your pointers on F and J. That's just natural, okay? That feels right to me. If it doesn't feel right to you, do something else. But on my keyboard, I have an Alt key on both sides of the space bar. So rather than resting my thumbs on the space, I just rest them on the Alt keys, and then I use ASDF and JKL semicolon as my hotkeys, and I use Alt as like the activation keys. It's very natural. Using like, I know a lot of people, they'll use like Shift and like 1, and they're trying to use like their pinky to hold Shift and their middle finger to like press 1. It's unnatural, it's slow. You have to look down and really like pay attention to make sure you don't hit the wrong key. Just do whatever feels natural. It only makes sense, right? And then if you're gonna be typing somewhere else, you're like, well, I don't wanna accidentally hit a hotkey. Like what if I, instead of pressing space F, I press Alt F and I buy? Well, just make sure when you're typing, your trading window isn't in focus, and you shouldn't have that problem. Old school, good morning. Bill Gunn says, Nico, how do you set up your ATR on a 2-minute chart? Well, in Ninja Trader, you add ATR as an indicator, and the 2-minute chart, it'll default to the 2-minute chart, and then you set the value, which is, the value means how many bars on the chart you're using. So if you set 10 as the value on a 2-minute chart, you're basically looking at the average true range of the last 20 minutes, the last 10 2-minute bars, right? That's how I set it up. And you can see down here, this is currently a 5-minute chart. So the ATR is calculating based on the 5-minute, but it's the same value, 10. Diesel man passed the valuation. Good work. All right, we are 22 seconds out here from the rollover of this 5-minute. And that puts us into 840 territory, it will. So let's see, the market's really pushing hard, at least trying to. Let's see if this kind of sustain. I mean, honestly, we're getting shrinking bull bars, but that's to be expected off the open. So remember here, guys, that we're not, you know, this isn't 925 and this is still pushing like 925 Central, 1025 in New York. Right now, the probability says there's about a 50% chance that we just fade this. Okay, it's 50-50 because most of these orders are institutional. They're building out positions, not necessarily just for today. They're willing to pay 21.4. You know, even if they think, yeah, well, maybe we'll bounce around 21.3, but we think it's going higher in 2 weeks. So most of the, not most, a lot of those orders are going to get executed off the bell, especially on a Monday. Bumble, good morning. Yeah, 90% is over, but they made the deal similar in terms of dollar. It's just different. It's 71% now, but the lifetime activation fees are $100 across the board, which shaves off a lot, especially on the higher account sizes. Oh, you see Bear's finally trying to step in here. We knew that was coming. All right, now worth mentioning here. You guys know I'm not like an indicator guy. I'm kind of a purist as far as price action. But there is a probability that we should discuss. When you look at a move like this, you see, okay, top left 5-minute chart, top right 2-minute chart. Both purplish lines are the 20 EMA for both charts. Well, they're for each chart, respectively. It is extremely unlikely. It does not happen often. It's like a 99% probability. I think it's probably closer to 99.5. That you're always going to test the 20 EMA on a 5-minute chart at least once and usually see 2 to 3 bars with lows below in a bull case like this or highs above in a bear case. The probability shifts down. It shifts up slightly on like a 2-minute chart where it sucks up closer because you're looking at a quicker moving average on the 2-minute. Technically quicker as far as time. So maybe it's like a 99.8% probability that you're going to test the 20 EMA at some point during the day on the 2-minute. Now, that feels very obvious, but it really becomes helpful if you have a day where it's been trending hard and it's like 1 p.m. and you haven't tested the thing all day. You can kind of use that, but you have to understand that the 20 will continue to follow the market. So if for example, if I just shorted this here, based only on that, well, we could just push higher and higher and higher, and eventually the 20 EMA is well above my average price, and we haven't even tested it yet, right? So it's not enough to simply take a trade off of that, but it's worth understanding that. I'm only bringing this up because today is kind of an interesting example. As you get deeper into the day, if that still has not occurred, you can start to think about that as, well, okay, we're really pressing the range on the day compared to the last few days. We still haven't seen that test, and there's a half decent short setup. Maybe I'll get short for a little swing. Okay, for a test of the EMA. Just another idea as far as we operate on probability around here. Okay, so just an idea. All right, that's an interesting little bear bar there on the 2-minute. The last bar, this one here. So I'm kind of watching this one now. We have 50 seconds out until the close of this 5-minute bar. Not lining up with the 2-minute here this time, but that's okay. TC, good morning. How we doing? Well, there's the rollover of that 5-minute bar. That will set, I know a lot of you guys are interested in the 15-minute opening range. That'll set the 15-minute opening range. Yeah, about 170 point opening range. There's a retest of 21.4. Tier 3 level, not really too concerned with 21.4 on its own. The bear's trying to retake the wick of that 2 bars ago. Kind of put us in the range of that opening bar. Which, if the risk on that remained reasonable, I'd actually be interested in putting on maybe a bit of a longer duration trade if the bears can hold this up. The 5-minute is a little cleaner than the 2-minute. Obviously, it's all the same information, just displayed differently. But right now, the 5-minute's a little bit cleaner. Dustin, I think you called it on Friday. Bitcoin and crypto is about to take a dump soon. Well, hang on now, Dustin. I didn't call it dump on crypto. I said long-term, I don't see a good use case for really any crypto. Other than being a store of value, which I don't think is worth whatever. I do think Bitcoin could go to $1 million a coin just on speculation. But speculation is weak. It's nothing. Eventually, speculation dies. It just takes longer usually than everyone expects. But I'd be interested to see if that did occur. All right, we've got 2 minutes and 15 seconds left here on this 5-minute bar. Let me think here. Okay, Pat, I'm glad you brought this up, actually, Pat. Can you explain the 50% retracement? Yeah, so you can see that we're actually getting close to testing the 50% retracement. Very close here now. Basically, the logic behind it makes a lot of sense. You get shorts that shorted this pop. They're like, nah, that's not happening. And they averaged in all the way up. Now what happens? On average, across a lot of participants, their average price short ends up being somewhere in the middle of this big move. Between like 40 and 60% of the move is most of the average prices of the shorts that are stuck. And what happens is when the bears are finally able to turn it over, once you get between 40 and 60% of the move, the total move, all those bears are like, oh, I didn't want to start out the week, with a big loser. Man, I don't care about making money. Just get me out at break even so I can start over on today. And they do, and that's buying pressure. Okay, now is it enough to always bounce it from there? No, of course not. But it's enough to add buying pressure. Like we're already seeing this bit of a wick, and that's very real. That's not like speculation. That's just real price action, real averages, real expectation of what people are going to do. So the 50% is one of the most real things in trading. You got to be careful. Like right now I'm looking at this, and if we see a reasonable close here out of this bar, now that we've dipped down into here and taken out some of those orders, I'm a little more comfortable with it if we actually fade back lower here in the next 30 seconds and close. But I'd be entering that knowing, hey, I got a deal still with some of these orders down here with those shorts that are still looking for a little bit extra to buy back. Okay, so half decent close there out of the bears. That's going to give most of those bears that are in the red an opportunity to get out break even right about there. Okay, good. Good, that'll be enough. I mean, you see those little bounces, right? A lot of those little bounces are going to be bears like, oh, thank goodness, I'm out. I'm out. We can restart my Monday here, because they were up here in the red with an average down here, right? They're 100 points at one point, 100 points in the red to start off a Monday. They're not going to be happy about that. So a lot of people will just take it at break even. It's all right. That's fine. I'm cool with that. Okay, good. Now that 5 minute there is coming into that 20 EMA, okay, at 317. There might be a few bulls down there. It's kind of a silly buy, in my opinion. But there's always going to be bulls around all these levels that are heavily watched psychologically. We have 2 minutes and 35 seconds left here on the 5 minute bar. Okay, so if the bulls are able to hold the 5 minute 20, I'm gonna have to rethink this. But if we can see a nice close, a strong bear close, I really don't want this bar to grow too much more below the 20 EMA. That tells me that they're, you know, the bears are already overtaking that at that point. And I would look to short that to take out some stops here at the low. You have a pre-market low wick, some stops down there. A lot of stops are going to be right on the opening bar. But honestly, if you look at bulls with stops who are kind of betting this move is going to last all day, a lot of them are going to look here and say, oh, I mean, do I really put it on the open? Why don't we just put it here or here? which is good because that gives me a lot of points with a lot of stops. So if the bears can prove that they're still in control here in the next 37 seconds, then it only makes sense for me to short it or move down through the low. Oh, bulls, they're holding that EMA, aren't they? All right, that's okay. That's okay. Let's see if we get some reversal bars going, or if we get continuation. I'm open to either. Again, I don't have a directional bias. I do not care. I do not care. Just give me something clear. Jim, good morning. How we doing? What's up, So Ono? Good morning. All right, cool. Not bad. Bulls are trying to step in here. We took out well over that 50% retracement. We got about, well, off the open, about 90. So, you know, believe it or not, this is a really important bar here. This 5-minute bar, top left. This bar is really, might be the most important bar of the day here so far. Okay, now remember at 9 o'clock we have US ISM manufacturing PMI. If we get a nice entry bar here on the 5-minute, that might cause me a problem. I think what I'll do is, if we get a nice entry bar, again, whether it's a big bull reversal bar, in which case I'd have to put it on and risk the size of the bar on the 5-minute chart. 2 minutes a little, I mean, the 5-minute is by far cleaner than the 2-minute here today. I'm still watching the 2 top right? But if we, if we get a nice 5-minute bar here closing near the low, I'm going to have to let ISM manufacturing PMI hit. Give it maybe 10-15 seconds, and then if I still have an entry on the rollover, what I would still call the rollover inside of the first 30 seconds, I'll put it on if we get a nice clean close. When you get lineups here, because goodness, we have a lineup with the 2-minute, the 5-minute, and the ISM manufacturing PMI all hitting here at 9, a minute 15 out. So that all begins with, do we get a clean enough close on the 5-minute to put a trade on here? And if we do, gonna have to let that number hit, see if it moves anything, and if not, slap it on. All right, 30 seconds out. Got a lot we got to look at here in the next 30 seconds. I'm watching here. We need to close below that previous wick here out of the bears. Ideally as low as possible. Within reason. There's the ISM number, okay? You guys see that? It's gonna move things for maybe... Yeah, we're moving things. We closed pretty much at the previous wick. Yeah, I gotta hold it. Let that clear. Damn, it's too bad. Yeah, ISM manufacturing PMI, the forecast there was 49.5. It came in at 48.5. So that's going to move things. Okay, this volatility should die here in the next probably 60 seconds. Back to normal. What a move. You see how that took out all those stops? Open of day. This little wick pre-market that a lot of people are going to look at and say, oh, let's give it to here. You also have this here that got taken out a little bit. It's just good, predictable liquidity if you can get a setup coming into it. Unfortunately, market was a bit sloppy for us to put that on. Sometimes the timing's just not right, you know? You got to hold off. But that's always one of the worst, where you get a really nice setup coming in, and then it's like, you look at the time, and it's like, ah, damn, the rollover is going to be a data release. CMAC went short on the 850 bar for a nice 40-point win. Nice trade. Nice trade. Yeah, that was a reasonable trade. The only thing that I was thinking about there was that 50% retracement. It proved to be an issue for a little while, then we broke right through, which was good. Big old wick here, goodness, on the 5-minute. All right, 35 seconds here on this 5-minute bar. The 2-minute chart's kind of all over the place right now. There's a 2-minute chart. Oh, keep in mind, this here was the 15-minute opening range. You know, a lot of you guys and a lot of people in general are paying attention to that, especially I'd say the last, like, year. One side. All right, keep my eye out here for a nice little reversal bar if we can get it. That 2-minute is basically in a range. It's good to have the context of the smaller time frame up next to the 5, obviously. The 5 has been pretty clean and comparatively. All right, cool. There's the rollover of the 2. 2 minutes left on the 5. Okay, now if the bulls can hold this up and give us a clean close on this bull reversal bar, you know I gotta get long. And basically risk the curl. Come on, bulls, don't get wicked. Looking for a close here out of the bulls, essentially clear. Ideally well clear of this 5-minute 20. It's just so heavily watched. But somewhere in this region will be cool for me. Yeah. Watching here. All right. Okay, there we go. I'll get long there. There's where I sit. Again, I expect this to be a bit more of a longer duration trade. Trade small, widening things out. Let it work. See if it can work. If it retakes the curl to the downside, breaks through a new low, we'll get stopped and that's fine. But we're in a range market. Remember, look at the daily. Look at the daily. So if we enter a bear trend, that's cool. I'd be fine getting stopped if we enter a bear trend because that gives us all the opportunity in the world anyway. But we're in a range market. So let's see if we can get that little reversion back upside, stay well within the range. Not necessarily, by the way, looking to take profit on a break of high of day. But I just want to have that nice and high in case we get some random tariff news or something coming through. All right, now ATR, we're typically looking at it on the 2-minute, but ATR on the 5-minute is currently 48, which is good. It's good. It's pretty decent today, so I'm giving this thing some room. I'm expecting it to, if it works in our favor, probably take a little longer than average, for sure. Going back to green on the trade. Break even-ish. Vel says, you think price is just trying to take the liquidity around 21.4? Yeah, well, maybe it's not. That's not really my thought process, though, here. Just trading price action. You know, this is a 5-minute chart. You get this big bear trend, right? You get a big candle wick and a bull bar closing above the previous wick. That's a potential reversal bar. Okay, so in this case, with the range being as wide as it is, we're in a range market. I can just risk the curl. I can size down, risk the curl, which, yeah, is big, but I'm sized down. And just look for an overtake of this range, take it bar by bar. Again, I'm just leaving this up here just in case we get a big push or something. But I would need to give it time to get healthily in the money, and then play it bar by bar. If we get a big bear bar closing near its low or something, up here, pull it. I'm not afraid to manage early, even in here, if we get something that makes the trade no longer look reasonable. But right now, for me, it's a very reasonable look. Makes mathematical sense, which is all I care about. I don't care about anything else. That's it. This is Ninja Trader. Taz, good morning. Bernard, if Apex puts you on live accounts, how are you going to trade? That wouldn't really change much. Wouldn't change much. If you're managing risk reasonably, you're taking good, disciplined trades that make mathematical sense, then you should be pretty much within the rules of their PA accounts anyway. So you wouldn't have to change anything really if they put you live. The one thing that can be a little bit different is, again, for example, like let's say we saw a bit of a push and then we saw a big bear bar closing at the low and I'm like 1 point in the money. In a PA account, if I pull that, which technically would be the right thing to do depending on how it looks, the right thing to do is the wrong thing to do in that case, because now I'm breaking the 5-to-1 risk reward. So that's what you got to be careful with. So it gives you a little bit more freedom, I suppose, but I really don't mind working with those rules in the funded accounts at Apex. And yeah, I suppose sizing would be a little bit different. A little bit of sideways action here. Let's see if this turns into a trading range. You can see the 2-minute is semi-interesting here, right? Clearly a bit of sideways action. You could make that argument for an ascending support really across the 2 and the 5. Really every time frame is going to show that. But we also have a little flat top up top. So let's see if we can break that little flat top. Put us a little bit deeper in the money here. Chris K says, yeah, so isn't the 5-to-1 risk reward based on average of winners and losers? How would they know what the risk reward on each trade is? You could be trading without stops. Yeah, Chris, so the answer to this question, it depends on the rep. The rep might look and say, well, wait a second, on this one trade, you had a stop order out, a live stop order. And they'll say, hey, I can see that here, and you took it off. That stop order was 40 points away. You took a winner at 1.5 points. That's a break. That's a rule break. And you know what? They would be entirely within their right to say, we're going to deny that payout. Don't give them any reason to be able to do that, is my philosophy with prop. Don't give them any reason to say no, at least within your control. Now we're about 20 points in the money. Let it work, let it work. Let's do its thing here. So risk on this trade is about, risk on this trade, we're right around break even right now. Risk on this trade is about 8,000 bucks. There's the account roster, by the way, if you're curious. By the way, when I say risk, that's total risk between here and the stop. We may have to manage early. That's fine, just based on price action. Right now, it looks reasonable, so I just leave it alone. Come on, bulls. Break us back up into the range. Backfill that range. That would put us nicely in the money. I'd love to get at least 10,000 out of this trade. Which I know it sounds wide, but that's the idea behind this trade in particular. I'm looking for at least 100 points, ideally. Which again is definitely less of a scalp. But that's okay. You got to do both. Nah, Diesel man, this one's a little better than 1-to-1. I can't say exactly again, because if I need to manage early, I need to manage early based on price action, but kind of my minimum in mind, I'm really looking at more like 1.25 to 1 reward to risk. Minimum. Ideally, if it were up to me. But could be even more. All right, that's 50 points in the money. Yeah, Michael, pretty good push. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm taking my time on this trade. Nah, old school, it's not. It's not fine, man. If you make that a habit, taking profits early, you know, listen, you guys know I'm huge on making sure everyone understands the math. You can have a very negative reward to risk ratio with a high probability, a high win rate, and make lots of money. But if that's not the idea behind the current trade, like my current trade here, let me put that away and go back here. The current trade, if I'm risking what I'm risking, I know the probability here, so I shouldn't really, I know the right thing to do is not to take it here if I can help it. If I need to manage early because of price action, that's fine. But I'm looking to get a little better than 1-to-1 here, ideally. Oh, I apologize, old school, you're talking about Apex. Yeah, Apex is cool if you take things early. But again, I think it depends on the rep. I don't like to play games because every rep is going to treat things a little differently. Joseph says, why not move up stop to break even? Because you're playing the scared game, man. You're protecting your psychology. Listen, if this curls and stops me, for me, that's okay. I don't want to get stopped at break even. It messes with probability too much. Because if we pull back to here, the trade is still valid, absolutely. It's absolutely still valid. Okay, so depending how the pullback looks. Moving stop to break even does not improve the data. It makes it different. Okay, it changes the reward to risk and the probability. It doesn't make it better necessarily. In some cases, maybe it does. This is not one of those cases, at least for me. I think if moving to break even protects your psychology, or you're running a strategy where in doing so, it makes the data look a lot better, then you should obviously do that. But for me, I don't want to stop myself out at break even just to avoid red. If the trade is still the same idea that I put on, to me that doesn't make sense. So I leave the risk on. Okay, it's okay. If it curls and makes me red, I'm not going to cry about it. That's part of the game. We just move on to the next trade. A lot of people, they can't handle being 55 points in the money and then having it curl and stop them out because it hurts. It hurts. So they say, oh, there's an answer to that. Move to break even. But they forget it changes your data. It changes the probability. It changes the reward to risk on average. Nah, Mark, I've never had a payout be denied. Nope. Take Profit Trader, they don't seem to mind any of this stuff. Take Profit Trader does have less like definitive rules on that kind of thing, which is cool. All right, again, I'm looking for at least 100 points here out of this trade. Currently about 62 points in the money. Let's see if we can get a push up through 21.4. Really up toward 21.415. Val says, how do you learn to take losses and not affect your mentality? You trade small, and you do it a lot. That's the only answer. That is the answer. You trade small and you put a lot of screen time in. Don't take a lot of trades at the expense of quality, but take as many as you can, as many good trades as you can. And you trade small, you won't care too much if it curls here and stops you. And small means different things for different people, right? But in the beginning, I really think everyone should start with like 1 micro, because you're going to be losing. All right, let's see if we can get a push up through 4. Push me to 415-ish. 70, 69 points in the money. All right, there's the rollover of the 5-minute bar. Come on, bulls, give us a nice little push. Brandon says, I really appreciate you showing different trading styles like this. I feel like it gives me more tools in the tool bag to address the current market conditions. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I think the best way to trade is if there's not really any good intraday, I don't know if I'd really call this a full-blown intraday swing. Maybe you would. Maybe you would at this point. Ultimately, I think the best way to trade futures is to do both. When it's time to scalp, you scalp. Hey, if there's an opportunity to put on risk and take an intraday swing for a 1-to-1 plus 1.25, 1.5, 2-to-1 reward to risk, put it on and let it sit, let it work. Don't overmanage it. Ultimately, you're probably going to end up doing both. And that's not because you need to do both. It's just because the market conditions sometimes call for one or the other. All right, bulls, come on now. Take us up through 21.4, baby. Take profit currently is at 414.25. See if we can get a push up through there. I'd really prefer to see a nice stronger close out of this 5-minute bar. That'll roll over in a minute 20. James says, I'm not in this trade, but man, I'm rooting to see a 100-point win here today. Yeah, man, let's see if we can get another like 35 points. Again, take profit up here at about 414. All right. And there we go. We are out there. Oh, just under 10,000 on the winner. 99 hundo. All right, let's make sure I'm flat. And there's where we sit on the day here so far. One trade, just under 10K, 9,900 bucks. All right, let's move on, see what we can get. $100-point winner. What a push that we got there. Good. All right, on to the next price action trade. Again, market calls for scalping, we'll scalp. If the market calls for swings, we'll swing, man. I don't care. Just do whatever it takes. Do whatever it tells us to do. Range breakers. Go golfing. You're done. I'm not a golfer, man. Oh, Senju forgot to engage the copier, man. Oh, it sucks. Yeah, it's interesting. We're getting a bit of a pullback here out of the bears. And by the way, hey, listen, if you're like, you know, I'm in that trade long, but I'm looking to take above that high a day. Is there really much of a reason for the bears to step in here? There's not an entirely logical reason. It just might be an imbalance that happens at this point. So if you're still in the trade, fine. I was just looking for my 100 points and take it. All right. It's always nice to start a Monday on a winner, huh? It's good. But listen, guys, it doesn't matter. I mean, the reality is, just come in, execute. Whether you're green or red, you should feel good about that. If you executed well. This is where a lot of people get lost. If you come in and you're red, but you executed poorly, you should feel bad about that. But that's the one scenario you should feel, well, if you come in and you're green, this is where a lot of people get lost, is what I mean. And you executed poorly, but you're green. But you didn't do anything that's sustainable. Like, you just, by chance, happen to be green executing poorly. I don't think you should feel very good about that. Because the P&L, I get it. Long term, the P&L is what matters. We're trying to make money. We're trying to provide. That's why we're here, putting in this work, doing one of the hardest things, I think, to do. Trading is very difficult. One of the hardest things that any of us are probably ever going to do. It is a personal battle, man, and it's years long. And every day you show up, the market's trying to steal from you. But if you come in and you execute well, I think you should feel good about that green, red, or break even. Because long term, if you have edge and you're executing, you will be green long term. Joseph, I was def rooting for you, no lie. I got scared, saw a descending resistance on the 15, made me nervous. I got out at that. Even though I won, I was hoping I was wrong too. Oh, well, yeah, man. Oh, look at this push. Look at this. The bears stepped in, man. Now, listen, hey. A lot of people right now would be, oh, I got out at right the right time. Look at how much of a genius I am. No, there was almost no warning for that, okay? Because we had a decent close here. I wouldn't say this wick was so massive out of the bulls. Okay, I got out at 414 and a quarter, which is right there. But if we were still in the trade, like maybe I had my take profit up at 440, I would see how this bar closes, and if we got a nice low close out of the bears, I'd probably take it off an entry here for some profit, but that wouldn't be ideal. Okay, but if we get a wick back up and we close around the midpoint or so, I would leave it on. But again, I got out at 414 and a quarter. So these are those things, man, that can really hurt your psychology. Like, this happens, you're like, oh shit, how did I not know to take it? There really wasn't much warning. You get the bears stepping in. You just got to stomach it, man. You can always get a headline out of nowhere. But let's keep an eye out here. Taz, going through it while you're talking makes me feel better. Just manage the best you can. Okay, if you make good decisions, and listen, I hope that I hate when people say just make good decisions, but then they don't tell you what a reasonable decision is. There's no such thing as like a really good decision, because at best, probability is most of the time going to be between 40 and 60%. In some cases, like here, you're maybe talking 70% max. Some people might say 80. I'd probably say about 70 that it's going to continue. So all you can do is make reasonable decisions and do it every time, all the time. Make what you think is a reasonable decision based on the price action, which is all we're talking about every day, right? So hopefully you guys have some kind of an idea what a reasonable decision is. Like, for example, getting long here for me was a reasonable decision. Putting the stop, hey, I'm going to look to swing this. Put the stop below the curl, reasonable decision. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Take each day result on the chin, green or red, and if you make reasonable calls all month, you should end the month great. Okay, now, the hard part about this is figuring out, well, what's a reasonable call? That's why we're here every day. I'm hoping that just the commentary helps you understand what I do. There's a million ways to do this. I can only speak my truth. Here's what I do, you know. Well, Chris, hey, listen, you're going about it the right way in the beginning. 1 micro is the right thing to do. You're after the more valuable thing in the beginning, which is edge. Then you can scale once you have the edge and the money comes. Chris, you should. Good work. Good work. 1-to-1 reward to risk. Probability on that trade, I would say, was about 60%. Maybe high 50s on that trade that we took. So 1-to-1, you're making money. Yeah, listen, if you guys haven't yet, please press like on the stream. That's all I ask. Helps out tremendously. But I'm watching the 5-minute here. We got about 90 seconds out till the rollover of this 5-minute bar. Young man, it really bothers me when my P&L is just under rounded numbers. Like, it would drive me insane that I'm 80 bucks from 10K. Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind. I know, like, people that have diagnosable OCD, which I would fall under that category. This kind of thing, it doesn't bother me, but everyone looks different. Everyone has different, and a lot of people say they have OCD. It's more just like, it's not really OCD. But this kind of stuff, I'm cool with it. All right, 35 seconds till the rollover here of this 5-minute bar. Tube Dot, what's up, brother? How we doing? Hope you're having a good morning. All right, here. I will be back. I gotta grab little more coffee. Put these guys away. All right, back in 2. All right, we are back, baby. And not a lot has happened here. We're kind of in a sideways little range. I mean, you look at the 2-minute chart top right. Definitely a little bit sideways here. It's okay. I mean, it's from a trading perspective, would I call this little sideways chop? Yeah, I'd probably call it chop, but I wouldn't necessarily call it noise. It's all just information. All right, it helps us determine when a breakout does come, what does that mean? So I'm still keeping an eye on the 5-minute here. You could make the argument that we're in a pretty aggressive ascending channel up out of that hole, but I'm curious to see if that holds. Remember, we're in a trading range, right? So, well, I should say the market is in a range period. It has been for weeks, especially around that 21,450 to 21,550 flat top. So a lot of breakouts outside of that, I'd say the day range here now, between here and here. A lot of breakouts I'd expect to fail to some degree. You know, would I be betting on big successful breakouts in either direction right now? No. Which is part of what went into that first trade. Young man says, if you can overcome stress and loss with trading, I feel like a lot of things stop bothering you in the outside world. Yeah, that's very true. It does help. I think trading does make you a stronger person, let's say. In a similar way as I think changing yourself physically, if you could, like I know a lot of you guys, all you guys are traders, obviously, but a lot of you guys are also like into the other side, like changing yourself physically, whether it's training, whether you're a bodybuilder, whether you're a fitness person, or whether you're just someone who likes to work out. A lot of you I know are that because you tell me. Both of those things together, I think, are a huge, probably some of the best ways possible to make yourself as strong of a human being as possible. Because you're facing pain, not only physically, but here, psychologically, mentally. It's a daily battle multiple times a day with yourself against one of the, in one of the most competitive spaces on the planet, which is the market. A decade plus of trading, it changes you. It makes you better if you don't quit. Ooh, a boring trader. I'm just getting back to your message here. Had a scary copy trader glitch. Oh God, this is like my nightmare. Ended up taking way too many contracts on a single account. Exited immediately, but ended up making $1,500 on that account. Yeah, I haven't had that happen with the affordable indicators copier that I'm currently using. I have not had that happen with this one, but I had that happen with another copier, and it is terrifying. It blew a bunch of... At the time, I had a bunch of 50K, not a bunch, I probably had, I forget, 50K Apex accounts funded. I entered with 1 micro on my leader, and I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 in the followers, and it instantly in the leader sized me all the way up to 100, which was the max on the 50, is the max on the 50. All the way up to 100 in the followers. And I flipped them, or I'm sorry, I didn't flip them. I meant to close them, and the copier flipped me the other direction. Boom, blown, all within seconds. It was very, very frustrating. It's so frustrating because you work your ass off to get the accounts to where they are. It takes time, and then in 2 seconds, a little glitch just screws you. You know what we need? Maybe I should reach out. If any of you want to reach out to Joel from Affordable Indicators, I've talked with him once. Seems like a great guy. Really knows what he's doing. He's building, great. I have no affiliation, but he's building great products. The copy trader is fantastic. If he could get a max position size for the leader account, where it will not, even if you spam the button, it will not let you go above the max position size, whether it's 1 micro in the leader, which is what I do, and then I ratio all the followers. That would be my #1 wish list tool right now, because that would solve all those problems with getting glitches that blow accounts instantly. Yeah, Jim, hit him up. Ask if he could. I'm sure it would be easy for him to do. He clearly knows what he's doing around some code. That would be wonderful if we could max the position size where it will not let you go higher. Maybe he couldn't do it in the leader because the leader is run through Ninja, but if he could do it in the followers, at least it would protect most of your accounts, even if it blew the leader. That right there is my #1 wish list item right now for a copy trader. One for one on the day so far. We caught a 100-point winner. I bought this, the close of this bar, bought the rollover right here. I think my average was 314.25. Risked the curl and got a better than 1-to-1 trade for 100 points. That's the trade we took so far here today. So we're 1 for 1, but we are not done. See the 2-minute chart, definitely getting some sideways action here. All right, well, we're 1:55 out here from the close of this 5-minute. You look up top here. This is a relatively clean 5-minute bar. However, you could also make the argument that we're in a tiny little trading range here on the 2-minute. Really on the 5-minute as well, obviously, right? So I'm watching this little ascending resistance point. Oh, interesting. Okay. See, I have to be a little hesitant here to bet on breakouts. So we're in a range market. Especially when we're in the middle of the big range here like this. You see this? I'd be interested in buying. I mean, I was interested in buying that rollover, but we're coming right in here to a range. It's a bit of a tall order. If this bull bar happened to be a little bit smaller, like this whole range was structured a little differently and the bull bar was a little smaller, I think I could have justified slapping that on, but the way it's set up. Now watch it push 200 points. What was the justification to take that long? Just price action coming back down and confidence in buyers? Here, I'll show you. Let's walk through it. Just briefly. So you see here this big push, this big bear push. You get a big wick back upside. Bull bar closing above the previous bar's wick high and above the 20 EMA on the 5. I bought the rollover. Just a clear reversal bar. This is a 5-minute bar, so 1 bar is more meaningful in my head than a full bar on the 2-minute chart because it's obviously more time allotted. Buy the rollover, risk the curl, plenty of room inside of the trading range because, I mean, you look here, this market's range bound, okay? So I don't want to have to get a breakout to get a minimum of 1-to-1. I didn't need that. The way this trade was structured, I could risk the entire curl, hold it just a little bit longer, and take profit off even inside still the range and not even have to backfill the entire range because it was plenty large to risk the full curl and still get better than 1-to-1 reward to risk. That was the trade. Yeah, cool, Jim. Let us know what they say. That'd be really, really nice if we could get a max position size and all the followers on that copier. That'd be really, really nice. That would protect all of us from bad glitches that seem to come. God, I don't want to put that out there. From the potential of a glitch. It's always good to have a backstop for a max position size, so you can set it at your ideal position size, and when a glitch happens, it doesn't screw you over. Yeah, I mean, you see this? Look at the 2-minute. Well, first here, let's look at the 5-minute first. Again, I was interested in the close of this bar, but I had to hold off because we're in a range here. Look at the 2-minute then. About 10 o'clock, right about here. That's where the 5-minute bar closed. Get a little bit of a push and we backfill the range. We do have an argument for an ascending support here, so I'm keeping an eye on that. But this, a big single bar closing near the low, testing the ascending support, I think takes a lot of edge out of it. So, just letting the price action develop here. Doing what we can. All right, I'll be back in 2 minutes. Hold up. All right, still in this little range here. Come on, someone break it out now. Again, I'm watching that little ascending support on the 2 minute. That's really all I have my eye on right now. Eventually, we're going to break pretty hard, I would expect, one way or the other. We do have a little bit of a wedge. I would call that a flat top. Looking at the 2 minute, you have a flat top and a little ascending support. 5 minute 20 EMA, about 30, 28 points downside. Again, that probability discussion we had earlier in the day about testing the 20 EMA, obviously very much so came into play. That's kind of over now. It's not a day where we go to 1 p.m. not testing either of them. That is the 20 EMA on the 2 minute and the 5 minute. So I'm not really thinking about that anymore. This is a 5 minute chart. Bear is really pressing hard against the little ascending support here. You can see that on the 2 minute especially. Let's see if they can break it downside. If they can break it downside and curl beneath Give us a nice strong close. I mean, right now, ideally on the 5-minute chart. Below the 20 EMA on the 5-minute. Top left, right? That purple line below there with a nice clean close on this 5-minute bar. Then that's a short rollover sell for me. Those channels really, it's trying to hold up. Right now, I'd really prefer to just see this break downside, get a nice push lower. That would give us, I think, more room for a clean trade to the downside. Again, I don't really have any kind of directional bias as far as the whole day or which way I'd like it to go. But right now, as far as what gets us to a setup quicker, a downside push and a nice low close out of the 5-minute chart gets us there much faster. Drag, just hit that like, appreciate you. So you guys see how, I'm just talking out loud, you guys see how this was kind of a little ascending channel? It would not surprise me at all if this turns into a little descending channel and then eventually breaks. But this is so common. It's so common. I mean, you get a push upside. This is a 5-minute chart, right? You get a push upside, it goes sideways on a 5-minute chart. This is basically just a sideways channel. On the 2-minute chart, though, it's a little ascending channel, now a little descending channel, at least trying to be testing the top side of that little descending channel. But you look at a 5-minute chart, the whole thing is just a flat bottom. Which these flat bottoms are ugly. When you're sideways like this, I mean, look at the 5-minute. It's just so clear. The 2-minute gives you a more nuanced view of it. But listen, when you're sideways like this, a lot of traders, I'm telling you, will look at this and say, all right, Now's my time to start hitting it. I think probability's lowest right now than we've seen all day. It's lower right now than we've seen all day, I'll say. Yes, things are calm. It feels like risk is lower, but you have to understand probability of chop up is much higher as well. Because the channel is relatively tight. You would, if we were going to scalp the outskirts of this channel, I really would have preferred to buy the ascending support that's now kind of broken. It's more of a flat bottom now. So really at best, you're making half the width of the channel per scalp, but you kind of have to risk ultimately probably double that. And probability doesn't make up for the fact that you're negative reward to risk, which again, you guys know I'm very happy to lean into negative reward to risk when it makes sense in my head, probability wise, which right now it doesn't. So the 5 minute is the most clear here. Flat. We got to see it break. I don't care which direction, just a break would be very nice. But that's not true. I would honestly prefer downside. Gives us more room for a trade. I know you like to use ATR. A very polite question. I know you like to use ATR. Can you explain it a bit? Yeah, so all I look at with ATR is I'll throw it up on a 2 minute, I'll throw it up on a 5 minute. And I use a value of 10. So 10 2 minute bars or 10 5 minute bars. Obviously 20 minutes or 50 minutes, depending which chart. And that gives you the average range of a bar, whether it's a 2 minute bar or a 5 minute bar based on the last 10 bars. And then I show the range of each bar individually. So what it does is it helps you determine, hey, like what's the volatility looking like? Is volatility fading? Is volatility expanding? And really ultimately what I use it for is to determine, okay, how long on average can I expect this trade to take? Like if I have a 100-point take profit and ATR is 25, trade's probably going to take a while. If you took the same trade 100 times, it's going to take longer than if I had a 25-point take profit and ATR is 30, right? That would be much more of a scalp, whereas the previous would be a lot more of an intraday swing. Now, when ATR gets really low, like if we're looking at a 2 minute chart and ATR is, which is again the average range of like a 2 minute bar on a 2 minute chart, is 8, that's really, really low. When it gets below 10, most times I walk away. Last week in the afternoon, we saw ATR on a 2 minute chart at like 9.5, but price action was not very wicky. It was actually very clean. So I was taking little scalps in the afternoon and it was performing very well. But most of the time when ATR on a 2 minute chart is below 10, for me, it's time to kind of walk away because the price action ends up being very wicky. It ends up looking a lot like this, which is really hard to, for me, it's really hard to get edge when price action looks like this. Time to play. What's up, brother? How you doing? So listen, if you're just joining us here, that's how we currently sit on the day. At the bottom there. Apex right now is 71% off, but the real kicker here is if you use code BIG, that's BIG across the board. All of the lifetime activation fees are $100, which is low. That's the lowest. I don't think I've ever seen lifetime activation below $100. And it's $100 across the board. Usually it's between 130 and 170. So arguably, depending on your rate of pass of the evals, it might be a better deal right now than even the 90% off. But if you're like, hey, listen, I want daily payouts, I want it to feel a little bit more like a personal account, Take Profit Trader is going to be your best bet there. 30% off, no activation fee if you use code BIG, which cuts the price in half, depending on the account. All right, the 2-minute chart tells the story the best right now. Top right, we need to see this break. Upside, downside, whatever. I prefer downside. Again, gives us more room. You look at the 5-minute top left, gives us a lot more room for a trade before we end up pressing that daily range so far. I'm cool either way, because this little ascending support is kind of starting to get a little mushy. I don't know if I want to be getting long off that. Oh yeah, Peter, you're right. I remember that. They ran an $85 lifetime last year for a few months. Yeah, you're right. I do remember that. I don't remember if that was on all the accounts, though, if that was just on the low accounts. But it seems like the prices are kind of creeping up at Apex across the board. So $100 lifetime activation in 2025 is a hell of a deal. All right, well, honestly, the ATR on the 5-minute is holding up. It's at 42. We stay in this range any longer, though, it's gonna continue to fade. That's okay. Let's see if we can just break this downside. That's the quickest way for us to get to another setup here. So again, you can see this kind of ascending support. Look at the 5-minute, very much so, turning into a flat bottom. Right around the 20 EMA and the 5 as well. So if we can get a nice low close out of the 5-minute, pretty much in this region, that'd be very attractive to me to just short that rollover. Gives you a lot of room, about 100 points of room. Any of you guys trade this in this little channel? I know some of you guys gotta be scalping here. For me, it just, I can't, it doesn't make sense to me to do this here. The channel's just too tight. When you see bars like this, you get big, strong bull bar. You're gonna have people trying to buy the rollover and then it fades. A lot of these tests are kind of single bar tests. All right. Goodness, man, you look at this 5 minute, this is crazy. It's just sideways. It's all information. It's just, for me right now, I gotta see a break. Again, the 2 minute chart. Any hope of that little ascending support, it's starting to become mushier and mushier as we talked about maybe 15 minutes ago. But here's the downside test. Let's see if the bears can break this lower. Again, that's a flat bottom, I'd say, on the 5 minute. So here's the test of both the 20 EMA and the flat bottom here on the 5 minute, top left. Yeah, Vinny, this is I see this as information. I don't see this sideways stuff as really much opportunity, at least the way that it's developing today here right now. Nick the Kid thinks we retest the mid-range of the 930, 1030 expansions and go sweep the Friday high. All right, we'll see if we get that. All right, everyone keep an eye out. Chris is taking something here. All right, so this test here, we got about 1 minute 55 seconds left on this 5 minute bar, top left here. And we're testing currently the 20 EMA, which is a psychologically relevant level on the 5 minute. And that flat bottom. Again, if we can see a break downside and get a nice close out of a 5 minute bar like in this region here, really anywhere in this region, I'd have to put that on and risk at least the signal bar. It would depend how it develops. And that would be a short, by the way. And yes, good reminder. We have Powell speaking at noon. That's noon central, okay? So an hour and a half from now. Yeah, that 20 EMA is holding up. That flat bottom as well. Same zone. Come on, Bears, do it to him. Break this little thing. Right now, it's just delaying the inevitable, man. Joseph, reasonable question here. Knowing large institutions buy or value average on the 20 on the daily. Why not show that on the day chart? Is it just noise for you? Too big of a time frame for intraday? Yeah, so the way that I think about this is a lot of people will say stuff like that under the assumption that, well, the 20 is the relevant one, or the 50 is the relevant one, or the 100, or the 200. To me, the only reason you see lines on my chart at all is for context. So it's on the 2-minute. I could honestly take it off on the 2-minute. I just have it up there for what we talked about at the beginning of the stream. The probability of touch is very high on the 2-minute with the 20. However, the 5-minute 20 EMA is the only really psychologically relevant indicator that I have on my chart at all. I would prefer to really just use no indicators, but I know that a lot of people happen to watch the 20 on the 5. They also watch the 10 on the 5. They watch the 10 on the 2. They watch the 50 on the 5, the 100 on the 5, the 200 on the 5. When you start adding too many, to me, it becomes a distraction. So I put those two up for context, or the one, I suppose, on each chart for context. On the daily chart, I prefer to just have no distractions because the daily I'm only looking at for context of what kind of market are we in and what kind of reasoning does that help me determine for intraday decision making. For example, that one trade we took so far here today, I bought the rollover of this. If this day chart was very much a trend chart, let's say to the downside, I would have made a different decision here. Okay, but knowing that we're in a range-bound market, because you look at this, I was able to make a reasonable decision to buy this rollover that, hey, I think we're going to see somewhat of a fade back into this opening range. Because that's what we've been doing for the last 3 weeks. An EMA on the daily doesn't help me make that call. And honestly, it might just make me question that call or distract me. At the end of the day, I trade price action. That's it. It's king. In my head, nothing beats it at all. No indicator can even come close, not even a little bit. So to me, it's a distraction. I just want my charts as clean as possible, and I throw up the 20 for context. I could throw up a 10, I could throw up a 50. It doesn't really matter. It's just on there for context, so I feel a little more like I know where things stand. That's it. And not to mention, if I were going to get short right at, for example, the 20 on the 5, I'd want to know about it. It's not enough to take a trade, but it's enough to maybe make me hesitate in some scenarios, because I know people watch it. ATM, do you only trade breakouts? Nope. Nope. I'll trade ranges, I'll trade breakouts, I'll trade continuation, I'll trade reversion. If someone said, hey, what do you trade? It's much more of an umbrella term. I just trade price action. That's it. Here we go. Here comes the test. 5-minute chart. Let's see if we get a break through the flat bottom and the 20 EMA. Interesting. Okay. Ooh, that close is going to be right at the flat. Here, look. That close is going to be right at the flat bottom. So this bar here becomes very important. If this turns into a growing bear bar that closes near the low, I will short the rollover in less than 5 minutes. Let's see if we get that. Yeah, Chris, give him a call. Give him a call. We could use him right now. Maybe he's in here. He's lurking. See the bulls here, they're not really willing to give up this little flat bottom quite yet. They're hanging on by a string. Again, that last 5-minute bear bar, not enough because we got to close right at that flat bottom. I need to see a bear bar closing well beneath, clean, near the low, ideally growing compared to the previous two, but the bulls are trying to bounce us back into that channel. Because the bears haven't been able to break it yet. Yes, I mean, this thing's winding up. It's going to break one way or the other. Right now, if we're talking probability, I mean, the reality is here, the probability of it breaking lower is a little higher than it breaking higher. It doesn't mean that's a certainty at all. I can't just get short on that hope. But it's a bit of a weighted coin flip right now. I mean, you have this flat bottom, bit of a descending level. The descending or ascending levels tend to be a little stronger than flats. But this is really common. I mean, you look at the 2-minute here. You have a little ascending channel, turns into a flat bottom with a descending top, and oftentimes you see it snap downside. But I would get short if it happens, not hoping it happens, if that makes sense. So we got to see a nice little break and a close. 17 seconds left on this 5-minute bar. That's going to close inside of the range. That's fine. All right, there's the close. Roll over. Man, look at the wicks on the 2-minute chart, top right of your screen. This thing's just waiting to break. It's tightening down. You see the channel's getting a little bit tighter. ATR, the range of a bar, is starting to fade. Yeah, we got Powell coming out in 1 hour and 20. So don't forget that. Don't forget noon central, Powell's talking. All right, back in 2. All right. Bulls testing the top of this little channel, man. Let's see if someone can finally break. Joseph, Reddit rumor is he's stepping down. I haven't seen that. Have you guys seen this? Is this actually a relatively strong rumor, or is this just Reddit speculation with really no backing? I gotta say, I know a lot of people would like to see Powell step down. I kind of like Powell. I'd miss him if he left. It'd be like losing a friend if Powell stepped down. He's been around through all the crazy volatility last few years. As you guys see here on the 2-minute chart, looks like a reasonable buy setup, right? Yeah, but we're inside of a channel. Context, right? Context is everything. Could I buy that? Yeah, if we were breaking out of the channel, I would buy that on the 2-minute. But we're not. We're right ahead, right testing that little descending resistance, or what could be argued as a descending resistance. So I got to give it more time to prove itself here. Yeah, Vinny, it's kind of an impossible job, meaning Powell's job. I don't swing any way on the Fed, but I like Powell for keeping his nose out of politics. Yeah, I mean, listen, Powell's position is really a tough position to be in, because no matter what, it's a slow process, and the Fed is always being pressured to make things happen faster. But you also need to remember that it's a very slow thing, monetary policy. And if you overcorrect, it could just be fatal. I mean, you're steering a massive cargo ship, the US economy, and it's a slow process, and you have to take it slow. If you go too quick, again, the results could be fatal, but there's always pressure to do it faster. So whoever's in charge always ends up looking bad and being relatively disliked. Someone's got to do it, though. All right, here we have kind of a flat bottom, flat top. You guys know how I feel. Look at the 5-minute chart top left. These regions are always very interesting. We have 3 minutes, 25 seconds left on this 5-minute bar. Let's see where it closes. If this can close above 420, then we could get a nice buy. Ideally, a few points higher than that, maybe like 422 plus. So the bears can't make an argument of still maintaining that flat top. A definitive break and hold and close would be nice. That would be a trade here for us, I think. Bulls are struggling. They're struggling around that flat top, man. I'm going to tell you, this doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence, but as far as buying the rollover, but we're not even close to seeing a close outside of this. Again, like 422, I think, would kind of be my minimum on the close of this 5-minute bar. Minute 45 out from that happening. But the Bulls are struggling. The Bears are stepping in right ahead of that little A little flat top. Same way the bulls were stepping in at that flat bottom. The longer these sideways channels go on, by the way, the higher the probability of breakout on each additional test. Which, I mean, you'll notice if you watch a lot of charts. We've been at this channel for, what is it, 10:48? Over an hour. Been over an hour in this little sideways action. Nick, you still rocking MNQ or did you go to NQ? MNQ, baby. We're trading micros, believe it or not. Tons of money to be made in micros. You guys know how I feel. Don't scale prop vertically. Scale it horizontally. Horizontally. You can still trade relatively small per account and just trade the accounts. I prefer to copy trade them. When you get a lot of accounts, it may make sense to trade them in a group or two. Well, 2 groups or 3 groups. But I think trading them all individually is maybe fine early on. But eventually, trading them all individually, I think, is kind of a tall order. Because if you have 25 accounts, I mean, what? You want to take a few trades in each account per day, ideally. Are there really 75 good trades a day? Especially if you're trading like a 5-minute? I don't know, you know? That number's starting to get kind of high. Especially if you're more like a swing trader. Nico, what's your 1R at this point? Depends on the trade. It depends on the trade. Oh, look at this. We're gonna push. The risk on that last trade was about 8,000. But some trades will be 2,000. Some trades will be 4,000. Some trades will be 10,000. Depends on the setup, where the reasonable stop is at. Also setup quality. Okay, so you guys are now seeing kind of a launch into what it needs to kind of end up as, which is dynamic risk. The risk is altered depending on the setup quality. So little scalps, risk a little bit less. Bigger swing trades that are a little bit higher probability, that maybe require a little bit more risk, but have room to still get minimum like 1.25 to 1 reward to risk. Put on a little more risk. Though I will say in the early days, I think keeping your risk, your R pretty consistent as much as possible is important, just for the sake of gathering data. Because you don't know when you should be increasing your risk or giving things more room in the early days. You just have no idea. Which is okay, it's part of the process. Look at these bears, man, trying to stick this thing back into the channel. Bringing it right back to this flat top. All right, 2 minutes left here on this 5-minute bar. EU headline here: EU votes to curb China's access to medical device procurement. Yeah, Vinny, that candle definitely picked up some stops. The stops meaning on this little flat top here. This up here is the high of day currently. All right, and I will have to get long there. And right now, my plan is I'm going to risk the signal bar. So there you go. There's the look currently. And we'll just move this a little bit higher. Really, I'm looking to see if we can get a push through the high of day, take out some stops, and get us... I'm after at least 40 points here on this trade, if we can get it. So that cursor right now is on high of day at 458. So I'll risk the signal bar, see if we can get a push up through 458, up toward about high 470s, really 480. Lee says we will see 21.5 today. Well, for the sake of my trade, I hope you're right. Hope we see it sooner rather than later. Now on this trade, I'm not going to risk this. You know, I could look for a longer average trade duration for this trade and risk this curl. However, if we break below the low of the signal bar, we're kind of back in the range anyway. And then my trade, that's why. That's why. Again, because if I get stopped out, we're back in the trading range, and then I don't want to risk the low of the trading range because my idea is already out the window at that point. So that's the trade. Let it work. Leave it on. Lee, I went long at 10 a.m., sitting 200 points in the green. Damn, brother. Good work. Nice trade. Now again, I'm cool getting long here at the higher end of this daily range here. Like look up top, top left, the 5-minute, you can see we're kind of like this is the high of day. Because if we can push through here and get some stops, I would think that should be good for at least 10 points of a push, which will put us up toward 470, and then I can look to take profits around 480. Okay, so yeah, I'll look to take profits around 480 if I can. Depending on price action. But that's my best estimate right now. All right, here's the noon Eastern rollover. Little volatility, not too bad. Joseph says noon Eastern rollover is a thing. I thought it was just lunchtime, but I guess that makes sense too. Yeah, sometimes you get a little bit of extra volatility, just algo activity at noon Eastern. It's really not that big of a deal. Again, I got my stop currently below that signal bar there on the 5-minute. So stops right ahead of 4. Looking to see if we can get a push up through the intraday high, take out some stops, up toward 480. Then I'd take profit on this trade. Again, depending on how price action looks. Now remember, we have, I don't necessarily expect this trade to take this long, but we do have Powell talking in 58 minutes from now. So I would not hold this through Powell talking if it came to it. I'd have to manage it to the best of my ability, but I don't think it'll come to it. We'll see. All right, Bear's trying to pull this on back a little bit. Again, this is where I sit. If we break downside through the my signal bar, then we're back in the channel, and then I just want to cut it and get rid of it. Again, if I were looking to hold this thing for hours, I'd risk the entire channel, but a break into the channel and this idea, it's out the window anyway. So why risk the additional length or the additional width or height of the channel? That wouldn't make sense to me. So we'll see if we can get a nice little bull curl, press through intraday highs before we get stopped here. But bull's trying to wick this back down. Sorry, bear's trying to take this back lower. Well, are we heading back to the channel here or what? Come on, bulls. Take us up out of the hole. Dominic says, is there ever a time you would abort before it hits the stop? If so, when? Yeah, if we saw a setup that I'm looking at and I'm like, man, if I were flat right now, I would short that because I'm currently sitting long. Then I'll pull it. If it's not at my stop yet, I'll pull it because the idea has now changed. That's an example. Bruce, how you doing, brother? Here's the daily, which includes our open P&L, which is currently the open P&L is currently red. And there you go. There's the open P&L currently. Come on, bulls. Push us up out of the hole. Take us up to 480, man. That'll leave us sitting pretty on the day. What's up, King? How you doing? Come on, bulls, do it to him. Break that intraday high. Which, by the way, is not this curl. You can't see it. It's off screen now. The intraday high is rated about 58. There's the intraday high on screen with my cursor. Maybe that might be good enough for a 10-point pop if we can get some stops going and a little extra. Push us to target. Yeah, this trade on the day, I think if we could get a winner here, that would push our daily P&L to, I think, about 14K, which would be nice, but just one trade. Just got to let it work, do what it does, accept the outcome. We put it on. It was a good idea when we put it on. It's still a reasonable idea. There's nothing wrong with the trade. I don't have to manage early. Come on, bulls, take it through. I'll set my cursor right at high a day. James says, responded to your poll the other day, but curious of your answer. If you had to pick one day trade, okay, very important to determine or to specify day trade. For the rest of your trading career, would it be long or short? I think I'd have to pick short. A lot of people said long because I think they were interpreting the question as like one direction for the rest of your life, and obviously long for investing, right? But one day trade, I think I'd have to pick short just because like stairs up, elevator down mentality. You get quicker moves to the short side on average. But it's it's close. It's not, to me, it's not like obvious. All right, Bulls, come on, man. You're killing me. I'm getting hungry here. Yeah, man, the ATR. So the ATR on the 5 minutes currently at like 31, which is okay. It's just this sideways movement the last like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Is making this trade take its time. Come on, Bulls, do it to him. Take us up through the high. And that high's at 58, where my cursor's at. Yes, J-Pow's at 1 Eastern. Okay, noon Central, 41 minutes out. So as long as the trade looks reasonable, I'm going to leave it. But if it, again, I don't anticipate it'll take until Powell's speaking to hit one side or the other. But if it does, I'll have to do my best to manage before he comes out. Well, here's the open P&L currently. Pretty close to break even on this trade. And here's the daily. Come on, bulls. I'm not liking these little dojis you're putting in. There we go, bulls. Come on. Break through this little top. Take us through where my cursor is, which is the intraday high. Push us to target. Is it trading sideways due to the market waiting on Powell? Well, we've been sideways quite a bit today. I wouldn't say it's only Powell, but yeah, the closer we get, the more that becomes a factor. Well, break even on the trade. A little bit green-ish. Yeah, we'll just blame it on Powell. Yes, market sideways. Has not hit my target yet because of good old Jerome. This is one of those trades that's like, just do it so I can go eat lunch. Gotta let it work. Come on, bulls, take us through, man. Yeah, Powell in 36 minutes here. We got time. Bulls just won't take it through that even that recent high. Tight little wedge here. Oh my god, what happened in Boulder? I didn't even see this. Jesus. All right, risk on this trade's about 4,000. So let's see. Again, I'm gonna just leave the stop there. Again, if we break downside under my signal bar, we're back in that channel from before, and then we're also coming into Powell time. So we'll see if I get stopped here. We were down here once before in the trade. We still got a minute 45 here on this 5-minute bar. Curious how it closes if we're still in the trade here in a minute 35. Again, now here's the open P&L. Risk on this trade is about 4,000. About 19 points in the red right now. And there's the daily P&L, which includes the open P&L. Come on, Bulls, break that little flat top, take us higher. Well, we got Powell here in about 26, 27 minutes. Yeah, as far as Powell's remarks, what they're going to do to the market, it's news, right? News is 50-50. It's baked in. The market's very efficient, especially the futures market. And news is always going to be 50-50 on something like the Nasdaq. Come on, Bulls. We've given you enough shots here. Take it higher. That flat top is just a pain right now, isn't it? Yeah, James, if this trade sits like this before Powell, I'll just do my best to manage it. I don't think there's any edge in holding through Powell, at least not for me. Yeah, so again, risk on this trade is maybe 3,900 bucks. Reward a little over 4,000. Jacob, would you ever pull out in the middle of a trade, or does it violate your rules? Yeah, I would. Again, if this holds sideways into Powell, I would just manage it the best I can heading into him talking. I don't want to hold through Powell. And also, if we had like a really clean bear bar closing at the low, even if it hasn't hit stop yet, I would just pull it. But right now, we're in a sideways channel, so it would need to be pretty specific for me to pull early based on price action. But news, like Powell here at noon central, that's a very clear reason for me to just try to manage best I can early. But that's 21 minutes away. And we'll see if that becomes a factor here. Again, my stop's at 401.75 right now. Average is 39.50. Yeah, Powell's getting closer and closer here. 18 minutes. Oh man, that's one of those trades. I'm really getting hungry here. Flat top, flat bottom. I'm getting closer and closer to an early manage. We have 1 minute and 15 left here on this 5-minute bear bar. Powell here in 16 minutes. Well, there's the test of the 20 EMA on the 5. See if this just manages for us, huh? There we go. Okay, we are out. So that'll stop us. That's fine. We're back in the channel. Powell's up in 15 minutes, and I need to eat something. So here's where we sit. That's the daily P&L here after 2 trades, which is fine. I'm not done. I'm going to come back trade the afternoon, but Powell's speaking here in 15, so we'll see. All right, guys. I hope you have a good midday. Again, I'm going to hold off at least for the beginning of Powell's speech, go get lunch, and then come back, and I will trade the afternoon. Apex, code BIG, 71% off, $100 lifetime activation fees across the board. If you're like, hey, I like daily payouts, that's more my thing, Take Profit Trader is a hell of a deal. 30% off, no activation fee. Same code, BIG, B-I-G. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8:15 a.m. Central Time.